Hey friends, so I am here at American Thrift Store, which is close to my house, and we're gonna do a little shopping for some denim and possibly some quilts that we're gonna upcycle. There's so many great ideas and we use a lot of denim. So let's go see what we can find. So today's special is half off of tags that are purple, green, or red. So that's what we're going to be shopping for. And I always like to start in the men's because it seems like they usually have a better selection. And to be honest, they're a little bit bigger, so we get more fabric out of them. So we're going to keep on hunting. Okay, so this tag right here is purple. It is marked $3, which means it's going to be half that price, so $1.50 for this pair of jeans. And I think this is going to be perfect, so we're going to get this one. All right, so this is my haul, and this is pretty. Normally, I normally would get a big cart if they were out, so I've shoved everything into here. We're going to see what our total is. Okay, so I just finished my shopping and my total was $30 for these two huge bags. One of them is full of denim for all kinds of different bags, and the other one is quilts and blankets that we're gonna use to kind of cut up and create more bags. So I can't wait to show you guys what we do with this. All right, so here is my 7 pair of jeans, all disassembled. We have large pieces that will make great bags, some smaller scraps, and then of course we've got pockets, lots of pockets, all of the little hems, and the waistbands. So pretty soon you'll see some of whatever we create with that in our shop. All right, so based on all of our shopping that we had at the thrift store, we are gonna go ahead and make this amazing bag. If you guys can see this, I'm so excited to show you. It is a tote bag and it's really good size. It's at least 12 inches wide, but I'm gonna show you how to make this, and believe it or not, it is less than $1 for all of the supplies to make this bag. So here we go. So I have already taken our quilt that we purchased and I've cut it kind of in a big piece, and we're gonna measure, let's see, the one that we made, just to show you, ended up being, actually ended up being 13 inches. So we're gonna cut that at 14 across. That gives us our extra, and then it's 13 as well here. So 14 by 14 is gonna be our measurement for the bag. So let's get that going. And on this particular quilt, it has this, this binding at the top. It was on the edge of the quilt, and I wanna use that for the top of the bag. That's gonna save us some time. And we're gonna just line this up right here at the bottom. And I actually have the 2 layers here. Now, if you wanted to use a different fabric with lining and batting, you can do that. This just saves so much time having it already quilted and just ready to go. So we're gonna first start and just get a clean line here. So let me go ahead and just mark that. And I hope you all are having a really good day. I can't believe that we are almost into May. It's just crazy how quick the year's going by. But all right, so we're gonna cut this here. And again, we're gonna cut it at 14 inches. We want our finished product to be 13. So that gives us a half of an inch on each side, which is maybe a little more than we need. Oh goodness, it's having a little trouble cutting through this quilt here. Sometimes these older quilts, even though this has all been washed and dried, and sometimes they have like their threads have just been there a while, so they have a little trouble cutting through. But I also think some of that's what gives it a great character. And I'm sure this quilt is not a hand quilted item. If it is, they did a really good job, but it looks like it's probably just manufactured. All right, so we've got a clean line. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna line it up all the way down here on the end. And of course I have it backwards, so that's not helpful, but it's on 23 and we know we want 14 inches. So we are gonna go to 9. Make sure this is all still here. All right, so 9 to 23 gives us 14 inches. So we're gonna line it up right here on 9. And thank goodness we have these other little lines here that help us keep everything straight. And again, we just wanna make sure we're cutting all the way through. I love that this has that little extra binding at the top. That's gonna really be a time saver, and it's gonna make it look much nicer too, more finished, without us having to do the extra work. We like that, right? Shortcuts when it helps us, not when it hurts us. All right, I'm just gonna grab some scissors and do a little snip here because this is struggling right at the end. Okay, I'm gonna put this aside because we're gonna use this for something in a little bit extra. So we've got our 14 inches that way. So now let's do this. Let's line it up correctly all the way at the end. All the way at the end there. Make sure it's all good. All right, now we're gonna go to 14 and then we'll have our complete bag front and back cut. Might be time for me to change my blade on my cutter. Maybe so. All right, so we have front and back, and we've got it with the inside striped. The outside is gonna be this yellow print, and then the top has the binding. So we're gonna put that aside. The next thing we're gonna do, this particular bag has a very fun element to it. If you'll notice on the finished one, we used the waistband of jeans, a little bit off center, which makes it kind of nice. This particular one has the tags, the little leather label, which I think gives it character. So we want to go ahead and find one for this bag, which happens to be a dark blue. Now I did one earlier that I really liked where the actual corner came up to the corner, kind of like this, if you will. So we're gonna try and do that on this bag. However, it looks like it might be just a little short. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that right there on the corner, just like the edge there. And if you'll notice, I'm going right up to the base of that binding. And then on the back, it's just gonna be straight across. And when we get here to the end, what I wanna do is I'm going to wrap this so it will meet up right there on the edge. Probably what I'll have to do when I seam this is I'll utilize this little belt loop to kind of hide my seam. But that's gonna look, I think, really cute with it right up to the edge. So that's what the front's gonna look like. And then I've picked out a pocket that coordinates with that fabric. So we'll have a pocket on the front, and that'll kind of be what our bag looks like. All right, so we've got our top, we have our front and back, and we have our pocket. Now, two things I'm gonna do with the remaining scraps is we're gonna just add a little detail across the pocket. And on the previous one I did, if you'll notice, I coordinated this fabric to match the bag, which I think is fine, but I wanted this time to give it the opposite. So I think I want to do the stripe. So we're gonna create just kind of like a little something that will be on here to give it just an extra oomph. So we know that we're gonna be cutting this in half. So let's go ahead and do this at a 3-inch strip, and then when we fold it and sew it on the back, it will be about 1.5 inches, and that'll give us a nice little trim. So, and you can, if you have like ribbon or you have some kind of a trim that you want to put on there, that looks really cool too. I had this really nice jute trim that looks really good on denim, but I'm out of it, so I need to get some more of that. So, all right, we're just cleaning up the edge there. And let me just get this other side. So we've got 3-inch there. And just gonna clean up that other end. All right, so this is actually longer than we need, but that's okay. That way, just got a little extra. If you're like Terry, who is my other partner, she saves every scrap, even the little ones, which is probably smart. Not me. If I feel like it's not usable, then, or I'm gonna have to really be extra creative to figure out what to do with it, then I will not keep it. So, all right, last thing that we need to cut out is some straps. And we're also gonna do 3-inch straps. So I have just found some straps from legs of jeans, and we get that lined up there. So we know that we want it to be 3 inches across, and we want 2 of them, and we want them about 18 inches. So because this bottom is already cut and straight, I'm gonna see if I can measure 18 inches. So there's 24 to 6 is 18. I think just to be safe, I'm gonna go make it 20 inches. You can always make them a little shorter if once you put them on you think that that's too long. And of course I'm getting all my stuff crazy up here. All right, so we're gonna go over here to 4. Goodness, I made a mess up here. Okay, so there's our 20 inches across. And now what we're gonna do is we are going to measure our width of 3 inches. And remember, this is on the fold, but it is our straightest side. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it at 3 inches, and then I'm going to just cut that down that line. All right, so we've got, actually do it this way. There we go, much easier to see. All right, so 3 inches. I feel like we need background music. And I'm not singing, I promise. You don't want me to do that. Okay. So there's that. And now I'm just gonna trim that down the middle where we had the fold, and then we will have our straps ready to go. And that's all the pieces. Again, if you're not using something already pre-quilted and pre-batted, you know, a few more pieces and a little more effort. But I'm trying to show you how we repurpose our thrift store finds and how we can create something that is fairly inexpensive, especially if you want to do something for a gift. I know there's times I want to give a gift and maybe my budget's not up for what I want to get, so always something homemade I think is better anyway. All right, we got our front, we got our back, we got our top. This is our extra piece to go on our pocket and our straps. So we're gonna head on over to the sewing machine and get this bag taken care of. See you soon. So our pocket is good. We're gonna set that aside. And now we're gonna go on to the construction of our bag. I have already pinned the sides and the bottom, right sides together, making sure that that top that we wanted to keep is lined up. And so we are gonna just stitch, straight stitch. I think on this one, I'm gonna go to a 3.0 just to give us a little more length in the stitch. And I'm doing a 1/2 inch. It's actually like almost 2/3, but anyway. I like to have that little extra. I feel like it gives it more durability. And if you recall, when we cut it almost an inch on each side. I think it was a 1/2 inch actually on each side. So that would give us that extra. This is just such a really good kind of floppy bag. And so I would put a lot in here if it were me. And therefore I want to make sure that it's got enough seam allowance that, you know, it won't just rip or come apart, of course. The bottom looks like it's going to be just a little over that 1/2 inch. This particular quilt and fabric has been so easy to work with. I did come home from the thrift store and washed everything, dried it, and let's see what's going on here. It looks like it didn't match up just exactly, so we're going to make sure that there we go, that we're over just enough. I'll just make sure that caught, and it did. All right. I love stripes, but I have such a hard time keeping them lined up. I've tried all the little tricks and secrets, and they always seem to get off just a hair, so I always try to use them on the inside or somewhere where it's maybe not so visible. Okay, I'm just trimming these corners a little bit, and then if there's any really thick, bulky parts, just kind of trimming it up a little. And then we're gonna flip it over inside out and give it a little iron. And then we will be ready to sew on our, the top of our pants, waistband. Couldn't think of the name of it, but we're gonna get that on. And then believe it or not, like, it's almost done. It's so easy to do this bag. Poking those corners in. Okay, looking good. I love any kind of fabric that's vintagey looking, and this one in particular just really caught my eye. And again, it was only $3 for the whole entire quilt. Can't beat that, right? Okay, so let's get our little edges all smooth here. Make sure the seam is just pressed right down. Look at it. If you are a person who does not like your seams to show on the inside, and what I mean by that is if you look that is going to show on the inside. If that concerns you or you don't like it, you can always add a lining to this. It's light enough, even with the quilt like doubled up, it's still light enough that if you added just a small cotton lining to it, even if you found a piece of denim that was thin, you know, not the really thick, you could do that. But even just some cotton or muslin or something like that, kind of simple, I think that you could certainly do that and it would hide those seams. But for me, I feel like that it's not a necessity. It certainly, you could argue that it would make it look nicer, but I personally don't see an issue with that. The kind of bag this is, it's not, you're not going to be taking this out into like fancy world, you know? So, all right, we're going to work up here and we're going to take our waistband that we cut. And I think what I would like to do, I showed you how we were going to put this kind of at an angle. So I think what I would like to do is start over here on the side with where I want my angle to be. And I'm basically just going to line up this seam with this seam here. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that down. And actually, I want to go just below the binding that's on there. So it has that kind of that look. So there we go. Now that we've got that lined up, I'm going to go all the way across the front because I think that's going to be the most important part that we want people to visually see first. So we're going to get this all pinned down. And you can decide, like on here, there's a whole bunch of just frayed stitching. I personally kind of like that. It's like, it's not perfect, you know, and again, there are people, and I respect them, who will take the time to cover that up. And that's fine, that's their prerogative, but I like the look of that. And I also personally do not feel, again, that it's necessary to the design to require that to be done. All right, we're back here over this other edge, other corner, pinning it down all the way. We're going to stop just short so that we know what we're going to do here where they meet up. And we're going to come back over here on this side. And one of the things that I noticed when I did the other bag, and it's doing it as well here, is this wants to roll where the seam is. So again, do your very best to flatten it. And I'm actually going to pin it there, but I think I'm going to go ahead and also put a pin right here, just to kind of hold that together. And then we'll come back and put the one back in the top that we had. Okay, we are getting there, and it's going to look really cute. I don't know what it is about denim. It's just so cute to make stuff out of. Okay, so now here we are. And we are at the place where they're going to come together. So we need to decide what we want to do. And I think, because I do like this little cutout here, I think what I'm going to do is cut this. Yeah, I think I'm going to cut this one off right about here. And we will always save these little belt loops. We use them for all kinds of things. They go on keychains, they go on our little crossbodies and clutch purses, the zipper pouches, anything that we can use to make kind of like a little ring for keys. This is a great thing to use. and it's fun. Like I said, denim's just fun. All right, so we're gonna put that aside, save that. I'm not gonna save this other little piece though, it's a scrap. Okay, so we are back here. We're gonna finish right around the edge here, and one more foot. This is where they're gonna cross over, and we'll have to kind of figure out what we want to do there because this is so thick. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do there, so we'll just wait and see. But we're going to go ahead and start, and I like to start at the top. So let's get our machine all ready. Okay. And now I'm going to sew right with my foot on the edge of the binding that's here. That's going to give me a 1/4 inch, and it's going to give me a little bit of extra here on the denim. I'm still on 3.0, just so you know. When we get to these right here, we're going to go over them. Sometimes I have to walk my machine or slow it way down because, you know, it's a lot. It's going through a lot of fabric, and we want it to be nice to us. So, I'm just taking a peek at the stitching there, make sure it's all good. I'm using on this one kind of like a beigey cream color stitch, or thread, pardon me. You could use navy blue if you really wanted it to blend, but I think this will look fine. I mean, the stitching they use on the jeans is kind of a tan beige color. And I love having these belt loops on here because you can do so much with it. You could tie a ribbon through it. You could actually put a little belt on it. Just to give it a little more character. It's up to you. Okay, we are getting close to that end where we've got to figure out how we're gonna do that. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it back, and I'm going to stitch all the way to the end of this underneath one. That way it is secure on there. Okay. And then we're just going to back stitch. Okay. Now, I kind of want to leave it just not folded over and leave it kind of, I don't know what the right word is, just unfinished, I guess, kind of rustic-y. Okay, we're going over this last belt loop. And we're going to wind up right here where we started. Back stitch there to seal it. All right, so now we're going to trim this off and take a look at our work. Super excited how this is coming out. I love it. Love it, love it. Okay, so now we're going to do the bottom, and same concept. If you ever feel like your fabric is slipping or it's bunching up, you can use a little bit of like fusible interfacing, like Wonder Under or something. For me personally, this particular denim and fabric, I don't seem to have that issue with. It just lays really nice. But I'm often a fan of using something to hold it in place before you sew. Just following this bottom row here on the hem. There will be a couple of challenges when we get there, like we're almost to that corner that we had to pin in place. Okay, we're going to take that off, and we're going to do our very best to get that to be right in the middle of that hem. It's going to be off just a tiny bit, but not enough that requires any like redo or anything. It's starting to get thick, so I'm just slowing down. This is going to be a challenge here for our little guy. There he goes. So I'm going to walk it, lift it up a little bit, and kind of pull just to get it a little bit over that hump. We'll see if that did it. It looks like it did. All right. Fun times with sewing, right? If you sew at all, you know those are just the things. Broken needles, broken thread. All right. I don't want this to pull too much because, again, as I mentioned, I don't want it to bunch up. So we talked about the cost of the supplies for this. These jeans, as you saw in my shopping video, are the ones that were $1.50 jeans. They were $3, half price, $1.50. We're only using the waistband and a pocket. And I guess the straps you could count. So let's just say that we used half of that pair of jeans. We didn't use half, but let's just say we did. Then you're talking about 75 cents. This entire quilt was $3. And I have cut at least 12 purses out of it, I think, bags. Not all of them are this size, some are smaller. So we'll say probably like 20 cents, maybe 25 by the time we're done with what we're doing. So it is right at $1 or less that we have spent on this bag. Now, if you go to our shop and you want to buy this bag, it is not going to be $1. As you can see, there is a lot of time spent just making it just right. And so we take a lot of pride in that, in making sure that our products are something that we would use, but also that are made in a way that you are pleased with it. And if you're giving it as a gift, that, you know, all of those things. We want to make sure that the quality is something we're proud of and that we would use too. So we're not ashamed to have our prices be a little higher, but we also have compared our prices to other shops and other bag makers, and some of them, I mean, the quality of what they do is just remarkable, and their prices are really high. But again, you know, as with anything, you get what you pay for, and so we're on that little L part, and I just want to try to shift this so I can go down. And so, yeah, it's, you know, it's whenever you get anything that's handmade or custom, it's going to cost more. Nobody's going to have another one just like this. Even with all the ones we cut out, they're all just a little bit different from one another. All right, last little bit, we're almost there. Going over this. Hopefully the last belt loop. Pray my machine won't break on this one. Okay, come on, buddy. Woohoo! Got through it. All right. back stitch. And there we go. I love this print, this yellow print with the denim. I just absolutely think it is so cute. Little white t-shirt, pair of jeans, this bag, little white tennis shoes, you'd be all set. Spring, summer, going to the beach, heading to work, wherever you go, be really cute. All right, that's the back. Here is our front. I love it so much. See what I mean? How it's like floppy. It's a fun, you know, you can sneak a lot of candy into the movies kind of bag. Not that I would ever do that, you know. It's so expensive to go to the movies. I don't really understand why either. All right, we got our pocket, and our straps are going to be the last thing. So our pocket for right now, I'm just going to kind of place it. You can see how cute that's going to be. If I was smart, and I'm not always, probably should have sewn this on first, because now I'm thinking, oh, that's going to be really hard. But we're going to figure that out, and I want to go ahead and just press this down, these little lace things here. And I may have to go over that with some zigzag. I am so glad we went with this lace trim and not that other bulky stuff. So cute. All right, so we're gonna worry about that last. Let's go ahead and get these straps taken care of. And I'm not gonna put any interfacing or anything in them because it's denim and they're thick enough that I don't think we need it. So basically what we're gonna do on these is very simple. We're gonna just sew them inside out. And I'm gonna sew them as close to the edge as I can, but still make sure that I'm catching everything. I have a tendency to just naturally sew so close to the edge, and then I go to turn it and I'm like, oh, that's not gonna work. So I have to remind myself, and that's why I usually pick a setting for my needle where it's shifted over to the left, so it's not close to that right edge. There's one, do the other one. And then we're gonna flip those inside out and press them. I'm going to get a safety pin. I'm going to flip these and press them, and we're going to attach them to the bag. All right, so I have turned these using a safety pin to pull through, and now I have opened them up, and I'm pressing the seam down the center. And I'm trying to decide, I think I am going to stitch around the edges just to give it a little extra stability. So we're going to do that real quick and just go right again close to the edge on this part. You're just giving it a little extra strength by putting them together. close to the edge. Pressed it, but it just didn't seem to take as well. So I'll do it again. I'm trying to get over just a little more on this one. Straps are ready to go on. So it's just a matter of us figuring out the best way to attach them. Sometimes I will use like a ring and then kind of like loop this around the ring. But I think on this one, it's our front. I think I'm actually just gonna fold it a little bit like this and like this. And I am just gonna attach it right inside. So the way that I like to do my straps is I like to come in 3 inches from the side. So I'll get, because these straps aren't quite as long as I would like, we're gonna give it a try. We're not gonna fold this over twice. I'm just gonna fold it over once, and I'm gonna stitch fairly close to here and kind of go back and forth to reinforce it. And then we can trim off some of this and make sure it doesn't look, we want it to make sure it looks really nice. So, all right. So I am stitching right in the ditch here of the binding, and we're gonna just back up. We wanna try and give this strap a lot of extra stability. So I'm just going over it a few times. Like I said, this is a bag you'll hopefully put a lot of things in it, and we'll make sure that the straps hold. All right, one more. I'm going to take that off. And I wish it didn't have all of those little stitches, but the good thing is from the front, it actually looks very nice. And just trimming it up. And we're going to go ahead and flip over for the other side. So you want to make sure that it's exactly not twisted and it comes out just right. And so cute. All right, so we're going to go this way and do the same thing, and then we will see the finished product in just a moment.